Howdy, this is Jaxler. This is a speedrunning tutorial for Spongebob's Truth or Square. This video will be covering the any percent speedrun, or just beating the game as fast as possible. It's currently the most popular way to speedrun this game, and is a really great entry-level speedrun for anyone who's looking to get into SpongeBob speedrunning or just the hobby of speedrunning itself. This run is really accessible. You can get a copy of it on either Wii or Xbox 360, which I know a lot of people have. And it's generally a pretty cheap or budget game. That doesn't mean the speedrun doesn't hold any value. It's just a really good value proposition for someone who wants to try speedrunning, but is a little bit unsure about spending money or on either hardware or games itself. Now, this video will be covering specifically the Wii and Xbox 360 version. There are a PSP and DS version. However, those are separate speedruns and won't really be discussed in this video. If you're looking for more information on that, or potentially more advanced strats, make sure that you join our speedrunning Discord. You can find a link to it in the video description of this video, and all of the speedrunners for this game hang out in the Discord, whether it's a DS runner, a console runner, or a PSP runner. And this is a really friendly community, so if you have any trouble with the stuff I'm going to show you in this video, just feel free to I don't know, ping me or ping another runner, or just post a message saying, hey, I need help with this, or this is really hard, can someone re-explain this to me? That's totally okay. This is meant to just sort of be an introductory video to sort of get people interested in trying it out and to sort of teach people something new. So with that being said, let's start talking about a couple of really basic things. First of all, version differences. Let's just go over that really quick. 360 is slightly faster than Wii because of loading times. Now, if you're sort of new to speedrunning, Xbox 360s generally tend to have faster hardware than Nintendo Wii's do, so as a result, the loading screens go by faster. So, most top players play on Xbox 360, but you can still get an amazing time on Wii. The differences only amount to about 45 to 60 seconds, which might seem like a lot if you're not familiar with speedrunning. But you could easily get potentially 6th or 7th, or maybe even higher on Wii. It might seem like this barrier, but don't worry about it. Just play the game on whatever console is most readily available to you. If you have the choice between the two, obviously I would suggest 360, but we'll go into some more technical differences why you might choose one version over the other. Okay, so I mentioned loading times. The other big thing is controllers. So obviously if you're playing on Xbox 360, you're using a 360 controller, and that's pretty straightforward, not too much explained there. But if you're playing on Wii, you have a couple of options. Now, the default option for Wii players is the Wii Remote and Nunchuck. I don't have a Nunchuck because my brother stole it from my room. But the Nunchuck and Wii Remote is kind of... You can get away with it, but it will make your life a bit harder, because some moves in this game are tied to motion inputs, and we use some of those moves for tricks and skits. So, as a result, I wouldn't really recommend that unless you're completely desperate. If you're on Wii, you actually have a couple of options for controllers with face button controls. The one that most people will have access to is a Nintendo GameCube controller. These just plug into the port on your Wii, so obviously if you're playing on a Wii Mini, you won't unlikely be able to plug in your GameCube controller to it. Any type of GameCube controller works, whether it's one of the originals like the one I have, or one of the Smash Ultimate ones. It does not matter. Anyone with a valid GameCube controller port will work and be compatible with Truth or Square on Wii. Additionally, if you don't have a GameCube controller, or any controller outside of Wii Remote and Nunchuck, and you want to play with the face buttons, you can also use a Wii Classic controller. Now, what a Wii Classic controller is it's kind of shaped like some of the Pro controllers, like for the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch. And it plugs into the sort of same port that the Wii Remote has for the Nunchuck. And you kind of just set the Wii Remote off to the side, and you can just play on the Wii Classic controller. Those tend to be cheaper than getting a GameCube controller. So if you don't have a button-based controller at all, and you'd like to use one, the Wii Classic controller is the cheaper option. in terms of gameplay in the speedrun, there is virtually no difference. But if you plan on playing more stuff on your Wii, the Wii Classic controller is probably a better bang for your buck in terms of like budget. Sorry, quick sip of water. So that's controllers and stuff like that. So I think that covers all like the different version stuff that I wanted to talk about before I started actually teaching things. I like to put that at the start of these types of videos so that if you're thinking of picking up this game and don't already own it, then you can make an informed decision about what you want to do. Additionally, what you can also do, if you don't want to spend any money and you just want to try it out, just play it on Dolphin. This game runs fine on Dolphin Emulator if you can find the ISO. I am not allowed to link you that because I will get in trouble, but you can find it, right? I believe in you. Okay, so when you're starting up a run, I recommend erasing over slot 1. And the reason why is that when you erase a file, the game will pre-select your cursor to slot run regardless of what file you erased. So it just makes your menuing a little bit faster between attempts. If you're doing your first run though, I would honestly suggest file slot 2 or 3 because that way you can have an extra file for extra lives so you can practice and have the means to do that. If you're playing on emulator, I wouldn't really worry about that because you can just make save states if you know how to do that. But yeah, so when you're starting your first run, you'll start your timer when you select A to start a fresh file, okay? So we'll go ahead and start. And we're going to go level by level and show you how to beat each one of them as fast as possible, but with beginner strats. So there's a lot of stuff that you might see like a top level runner do that we're going to show you easier variations of, so that's a little bit easier for you to pick up. But if you really enjoy running this game and want to learn some of that harder stuff, there's a couple of videos out there, but I would just recommend joining our speedrunning Discord for more information on those. So in Jellyfishing, the first thing you're going to do is immediately make a beeline for the robots. Top level runners, so that's people like me and like Bubble Bass and Exotic Sponge or Jackalaka, have a way of skipping this fight encounter. But don't worry about it for right now. Just go ahead and clear out these 5 robots as fast as you can. I start with that one up and to the right, but just do whatever works for you. And then chill out here once you get the key. Okay, so normally what's supposed to happen after that fight, at the very beginning of the level, is you go up sort of this bounce pad and continue on the rest of the level. We're not going to do that. We're going to head to the right, back towards where we beat up that 5th robot. And we're going to be doing a skip here called Jellyfishing out of bounds, or as we like to abbreviate it, JF out of bounds, because saying jellyfishing over and over is a little bit obnoxious. So if you hear us refer to it as JF, that refers to the first level. We tend to abbreviate levels in this game, and I'll try to remember to point out each one that we do abbreviate in this game, okay? So, what we're trying to do here is get outside the boundaries of the level, and so I'll try to sort of describe what that means if you're not familiar with speedrunning. So, imagine this fence right here. So this fence is like a giant invisible wall. And going out of bounds would be like going around on the other side of that and going towards all this like really cool stuff in the background that normally as a casual player you're not allowed to mess with and experience. But with this trick we're actually going to do some boundary breaking, and that's going to allow us to do a really cool sequence break. Now this glitch is broken up into 2 portions. There's the part where you do the out of bounds trick, and then there's the part where once you're out of bounds, you do the cool thing to sequence break. So we're gonna, hairball. So we're gonna cover the first part, okay? So I'm gonna wait for Spongebob to shut up a little bit. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna show you the trick, and then I'm gonna explain how it works, okay? So here's a version of it in full speed. Oops, messed it up. It's been a little while since I've done it. And I'm making it harder than it looks. There we go, okay. So all this trick is just double jumping, and then you kind of land on this invisible platform that's sort of in the middle of nowhere. So basically what's going on is walls in this game are sort of the equivalent of if you took a bunch of playing cards and glued them together by the edges. So when you glue them together, they're pretty sturdy and you can't get past them, but they're pretty short. So you basically just hop over the top of it, even though this dome looks like it should all be solid, okay? So in order to achieve this, let me explain the setup I use. So when you're facing this sort of plankton crate, when you're facing it, I aim for the left corner of it, standing on top of it. And you want to try to get as far back as possible, as this will make it a bit easier, okay? If you stand on top of it, you can jump, and then gently tap the stick in a direction to try to realign yourself. This should work fine. So what I'm doing to get on top of the wall is I'm doing a set of double jumps in a specific rhythm. Now, I'm holding down the A button between jumps, and after the second jump. And the rhythm is kind of like this. So, ba-ba, okay? It's not like a instant jump or like a super delayed jump. You don't want to lose height in either scenario. So it's kind of like this middle ground, and I would refer to the controller cam that I have in the top left for a better sort of idea of the timing rather than just me saying da-da, okay? So you do the jump with this timing, and you're holding up and left into the wall, okay? So if you look at my controller cam, I jump and then I start moving. So like that, okay? And you can get a little bit more of a running start if you want. It's not like extremely specific, you know, it's not like pixel perfect or whatever. Just get on top of the corner and like, I mean, I'll even go up a little closer. Yeah. If you fall off to the side right there, that probably just means you were on the wrong part of the crate. And a little more to the left is of this corner is better than a little more to the right. Another thing, when you're lining yourself up in the crate, if you flip the opposite direction Spongebob is facing, he'll turn around on the dot without moving. So that can be really helpful as well if you need it. Okay, so again, you hold up and to the left and double jump with that rhythm. So 1, 2, just like that. And then what I'm doing is I'm actually letting go of the left analog stick as soon as I get up there. And so you might be wondering, well, Jax, how do I know when I've gotten up there? So what I use as a visual cue is during SpongeBob's second jump, after you tap A the second time, his hands go up, like he starts to raise his arms up, like that. Once I sort of see that SpongeBob's arms have started to rise up, I let go of the stick. That's the visual cue that I use, okay? So, now if you let go a little bit too early, you'll kind of just slide back off in the cave. Don't worry about that. This might take you a couple of tries. But as long as you let go of the stick and don't hold forward for too long, you should be fine, okay? Just like that. Now, one thing I should mention before we continue is that if you fall past, like if you go over this wall, you'll either void out or land on a platform below. If either of those happen, just no matter what, fall into the void. If you don't land, if like you fall out through the back, like it's hard to describe because. Oh, here we go. So our goal with this trick is to jump in and out. I kind of just did it right there. It's not that bad. That's like the easiest part. Is you jump out from the wall and then back in and get on top of the ceiling. If you fall onto like that platform or like onto the wrong part of the floor, just go ahead and like fall through like this weird geometry. It's all false walls and stuff, so you'll just eventually die and have the chance to redo the trick. You will have to kill the robots again. Keep that in mind, which is part of the reason I tried to show you that setup. But yeah, once you're on the ceiling, you're pretty much set. There's not really too much that you can do to screw this up. What you're gonna do from here is jump up and to the left and land on this bit of grass. Now this is the part of the grass we were on earlier, but now we're on the other side of the wall, okay? So what you're gonna wanna do is follow the path that I go through. I'm sort of holding up and to the right until I get to this ledge, and then I can kind of hop down towards the fence. Now, it's a little bit tricky for me to point out all the spots you wanna jump to, because when you get to this part, you can kind of see how there's like two different sections of grass that are split by a sort of dividing line, almost like they have two different saturation values. And as you can see, SpongeBob starts to fall through if you jump over there. That's a fake floor. You will die if you try to jump over here. So you want to stay sort of like inside the fence, because the fence isn't actually real. Again, everything's made out of playing cards, right? So as long as you kind of just hold to the side, you should be fine. Now pay attention. Feel free to pause the video and rewind and do what all you need to do. I'm going to show you where you're going to want to jump. So from here, sort of jump to this protrusion, and then to this one right by these trees, get to the rock, and then double jump to sort of this curved bend. And then once you get to the rock, you're pretty much home free, okay? Get towards the cardboard box, and then when you get to sort of this fence and the pink coral, back like at the very start, just chill here, okay? Now, this is part 2 of the glitch, so we're out of bounds now, but now what we're going to do is a sequence break called JF Skip. Essentially what we're doing is grabbing a collectible from out of bounds. And when we collect this collectible, it will trick the game into thinking we collected it from the end of the level, triggering the end of the level screen card and cutscene. This is a really cool trick, but it's a little bit tough. It may take you a couple of tries to sort of learn the angle. Don't be discouraged. This is probably the hardest part of learning the 80% run. Once you learn this, you can do pretty much anything in this game, I swear. So what I try to do when I'm showing this to people is, so this fence post that SpongeBob is standing in front of, I sort of stand between that and the next fence post to the right, and then turn the camera such that the fence post to my left lines up with that sort of pink coral closest to me in the background, okay? Then what I'm gonna do is kind of jump to this this fence post. So I'm in the middle of these two, and then the next one over, so the one that is a part of the next fence segment, so of these three, I've kind of jumped to the left of it, and sort of where this gap is right here. So almost like between these next two fence posts, like right over here. I'm going to jump underneath the floor and hold a straight line once I get where I need to go, once I get the angle right. And then right before, once I confirm that I grab the objects, I'm going to hit Y on 360. I don't remember what the button is on wait, but you're going to want to hit hammer slam as soon as you grab the objects. And it should look something like this. See, I hit the objects, and then I hammer slam, and now we mash A, okay? Mash A, and then you finish the level. So you need to make sure that you mash the A button so that you skip the cutscene before you die. This tricks the game into, you're in the cutscene, but if you die, it'll take you out of the cutscene and not really accomplish anything. Okay, so you need to make sure that you mash A, and it's critical that you do the hammer slam there because it will stall your height for just long enough that you can skip the cutscene, okay? So then you hit A here, and you're done with the level. Good job. That can be a little bit tough, but once you have that mastered, it's really not that bad. It just takes a little bit of getting used to, and it can be really helpful to go back and pause the video to sort of see sort of how I nudge myself up against the wall to line it up, and all sorts of stuff like that. That's not something I can explain all the ins and outs of vocally. That's just something that you'll want to sort of analyze the footage of. And if you're having trouble with that, feel free to reach out to us or show us your footage, and we can point out areas where you might be missing a step. But yeah, that's the first level. So go ahead and talk to Sandy, and we'll be going on into the next level, which is it's Karate with Sandy, I believe is what it's called, but because it's use a lot of the assets from Kelp Forest from Battle for Bikini Bottom, we call this Kelp Forest, or KF, okay? Now, at the very start of this level, this is going to start with a hammer clip. Now, what a hammer clip is when a hammer robot enemy attacks you while you're next to a wall, and it pushes you through the wall. So instead of jumping out of bounds, we're going to be forced out of bounds by a robot enemy. And I know that sounds a little bit tricky, but this one is actually really straightforward, and is probably easier than what I just showed you, okay? So when I walk into this arena, what's going to happen is a cutscene is going to play. And there's going to be a bunch of enemies that are going to spawn in and start trying to attack me. So what I'm going to do is hit A to skip the cutscene and then hold forward. And then sort of rotate the camera behind Spongebob. So that way I just keep going in a straight line, okay? And I'll kind of explain that again as we get there. But what I'm aiming for is a rock. A specific rock. So,
people say you shouldn't dilly-dally.
if you see, I'm gonna have to make the text smaller. Hold on. There we go. Now I can't move it. Hold on. So right where this rock is where we're aiming for. We're aiming to position ourselves sort of next to the left side of that rock. And then we'll hold still. And then eventually we just wait for the enemies to get to us and attack us, and it will force us through the wall. Okay, so I'm gonna do it at full speed to give you an idea of what the setup looks like. Pay attention to the controller cam to get an idea of not only the way that I move Spongebob with the left stick, but also the camera with the right stick, okay? And again, if you're playing with the Wii remote, I believe moving the camera is the left and right D-pad buttons, so just keep that in mind if you're forced to use those. Okay, so it looks something like this. So I hold kind of like this way, keep going straight forward, and then go right next to the rock and wait. And you see the camera freak out on me, and it flips and it puts me into the wall. Just like that, okay? I'm going to show you one more. I'm going to go ahead and void out so I can show you one more time. So go ahead and hit that, and then run into sort of the right side, hit the cutscene, and cancel it, align straight forward, and go to sort of the left side of this rock, and hold still. As long as you don't move and you go to the right spot, you'll clip through every time, okay? So now that we're here, what we're gonna do is, being out of bounds, we can actually access a later part of the level and skip a bunch of annoying enemies that you normally have to deal with. So the way that we do that is your camera's probably going to be facing back towards where the enemies were. Go to the right and tilt your camera before you move Spongebob so that you can see where you need to go, okay? If you're not careful, the enemies can hit you or you can kind of fall, okay? Now right here, stop right as you get here, okay? This floor right here is where it ends, okay? It's sort of like this angular gap. And there's this invisible wall right here. What you're going to try to do is get on top of that platform, and it's a little deceptive. Now, at this point in the game, you have access to the spin slab, so you can use this to get yourself extra distance and like a little bit of extra height. If you screw the trick up a little bit, it can help with that. So what I like to do is get next to the invisible wall, and then double jump and spin to the right. Just like that. Okay? Just follow the way that I'm pushing the buttons. Just hold up and to the right and double jump up there. You want to make sure you're holding against the invisible wall, because sometimes you can bonk on top of something or miss the platform outright. There's some weird collision, and holding in towards the wall will ensure that you don't fall out of bounds. Alright, so you get up here, and then once you get to the other side of the platform, we're going to go towards where that sort of sandy floor is over there. So you jump out and to the right and then hold forward, and then you land on here. And that's like the last really scary part, okay? So once we're on the other side of this boat, you can kind of see SpongeBob's head poking through it. Head forward and a little bit to the right, and keep pushing your camera towards the left so that you can see where you're going. You're going to be heading towards this ledge with the cage, okay? Now, you can actually go underneath this ledge. If you go towards the middle of it back here, and now inch your way forward here. You're going kind of like underneath some stuff here. It's a little bit weird. Let me try to give you a better visual. Camera? There we go. Thank you. So you're heading towards the right, towards this sort of ledge. And then as soon as you start to face to the wall, you're going to double jump to the left and keep holding left. You don't have to land on this. This is just a way that you can manipulate the camera to help you see where you're going a bit better, okay? This whole thing over here is floor, so the point of that jump is just to get your camera realigned. Now, once you're over here, just follow the invisible wall. You can stay as close as you want to this invisible wall. What this accomplished was get ourselves to the other side of sort of this boat area to here, okay? So now that we're underneath this boat, this is kind of where we want to go. What we're going to do is if you point the camera up, you can see there's this higher plane up here. Don't try to jump from underneath. Walk a bit away from it, then double jump and get on top of it. Okay? So now what we're going to do is pass through this wall, keep walking until you see your character again. And you should be somewhere like out here. It looks kind of funky. And you may see this platform up here too. This doesn't exist, so don't worry about it. If you see kind of like those two dots where there's sea urchins on the texture of the rock wall, that's where we're headed. So just go through and then keep going until you see your character, and then keep going until you get to this corner. Okay? Now what we're gonna do is you sort of see that blue stalactite next to the crates. What we're gonna do is double jump at that wall and then hammer slam. And so what that accomplishes is that it will put our body sort of slightly inside the wall and hit a checkpoint trigger. So when we die after falling through the void, it'll put us back inside the level so we can play through it normally, okay? So double jump and then hammer slam as you touch the rock. And that should put you inside, right here. Good job. Okay. So once you've done all of that, you can jump over these crates, and we're gonna head over across these crates to grab this power-up. So this power-up's really cool. So what this does is it gives you double damage on all of your attacks, but as soon as you take a hit of damage, you'll lose it. There are places where you can get extra copies of this power-up, and I'll be pointing those out as we go along. But what you want to do is grab this power-up, go to this crate, and then double jump to this sort of outcropping of the wood, and then jump back towards this corner to set up for what's called a spin boost. So I'm just pausing the game. I'm going to over voice describe to you what you're going to see. So when you use your spin slap into a spinner robot, you get clanked back. It's like a move trading in Smash Bros, if you're familiar. They kind of just glance off of each other. And so what I'm attempting to do is jump right before that happens, okay? I jump, so I roll my thumb. That's the way I like to do it, is hit A to jump and then immediately hit B right before I come into contact with the enemy. And what that'll do is give us a big boost of height and let us get over this ledge. So it should look something like this. Like that. Sometimes you'll destroy the robot, and sometimes you won't. But in this room, the spin bots will respawn infinitely. So you can just practice over and over, okay? So again, run up to them, jump, and then spin right before you're about to make contact. And then you can get a double jump out of it too. Now, if you don't get any height, what that probably means is you jumped too early. So like that. That means you jumped too early, or not close enough to the robot. If you just sort of clink off but not get any height, you're either too far away or too early in pressing A. You want to be like right up next to them. AB, AB. Now, if you're really having trouble with this trick, you don't have to do that. You can just hit these paddles as per normal and just move along. But I recommend learning these because we're going to be trying some more later on, and this is a really good place to start learning them. There's actually another one in this level that we'll go for. And so our goal with this one is just to get up to this ledge, okay? So now, once you're up here, you can start to do a movement strat called spin hopping. Spin hopping is when you're doing movement, and spin boosting is when you get height and you boost yourself into the air. I know it can be a little confusing, but just bear with me. Now, the way that spin hopping works is when you jump and use your spin attack, you gain speed. And you can't reuse that move until you touch the ground again. So the way that spin hopping works is you tap A. And when you tap A in this game, you get the shortest jump possible, okay? So you tap A and then spin. to immediately cut it off. And then you chain that over and over. And so again, you can kind of either slide your thumb between A and B, like I do, and you can kind of see how shiny my 360 controller is from doing this. Or you can put your left thumb on the A, or your right thumb on the A button, on like sort of like the left side of your right thumb, and just sort of roll between the two in one motion. Kind of like you're pressing the two with a delay, like that. And you can do that in places throughout, only when you have this power up. Don't do it when you don't have the buff power up, or else you'll lose speed. Okay. Okay. So another thing with movement, what you want to make sure is that you see the landing animation. Okay. You want to make sure that you fall for a little bit before you try again. So here's an example. If I double jump and spin into the ledge, I can't jump as soon because when I'm on the ground, the spin animation continues a little further. So like, for example, if I'm coming from here, I'm actually going to double jump and then do a spin hop. Just a little thing to know. Again, it's not something to lose sleep over if you're having trouble with, but just something to consider. It feels really good to start chaining these together, so I'm just going to show you examples of me doing them through the next few hallways. Now make sure you give these flowers a wide berth, and then hit the paddle, and then just go between the two of these spiky boys. Press A to skip the cutscene, and then you can just kill these enemies as fast as possible. Now for this hammer robot, all you want to do is just hold forward and mash B. It's going to look scary every time you do it, but trust me, okay? Don't quit the level. See? Works every time. Now you can, if you're fast, you can jump over the fence as it's getting lowered, and then spin over it. Then what I like to do is double jump and spin to give myself a platform to jump on top of so I can get up through here. And then just fall. Don't spin hop into this cutscene, because the cutscene trigger is height-based, okay? Alright, so this next trick is another spin boost. So again, if you're having trouble with spin boosts, I recommend going and practicing them the back where I first showed you how to do them, because this one has a bit of a setup, and there will be enemies that start to come your way if it takes you a couple of tries. So I'm going to show you backups and what to do in case it doesn't work out. But what you want to do is I'm going to unpause, and you just hold still, okay? And eventually, that spinner will spawn in overhead. So as soon as you exit the cutscene, hold still. Don't move, okay? Then, he'll start attacking. You go for a spin boost off of him, and you land on the box of the cage. So I'm like between this sort of gear cog platform and the surface of the cage here. Okay? Now if you screw this up, you can just wait for another spinner robot to spawn in, and it's not a big deal. Okay? But I'll show you, once you're here, what you do is you, similar to what we did in GF, jump out and in, okay? Jump out and in. And that way you'll get over the top. And if you fall, like here's an example, kill the hammer robots and then try to go for the spin boost. Okay? You'll need some good height in order to get up here. And the height that you get is determined by how close you are to the robot when you perform the spin boost. The closer you are, the more height you'll get, okay? So this can be another really good place to practice them if you want. But oftentimes, it can be a little tricky with the hammer robots, so your call. And again, if this strat is too hard for you, just do this puzzle casually. It's not a huge deal. It's at most 20 to 30 seconds. I just like showing people it because it's cool, and it's not that bad with practice, especially if you're good at spin boosting. Okay, so again, jump out and in. Make sure you're on the corner of this as well. If you go from the side, it'll make the window harder to get over the top. And then spin this, and then you can double jump over to these platforms, and you've basically done the puzzle without having to do it. Now, if you lost your buff power up, there's one down there, And what you can do is if you fall, you can jump on this crate and use that to jump up on top as well. Okay? So that's the backup that you use if you somehow fall off after spinning the paddle or something. I don't know. So go ahead and hit the button here. And then this is all pretty straightforward as you go through the hallway. So just sort of do what I do. And I would jump over the top of those enemies so that they don't bother you. Okay. Now right here, these flower enemies suck you in like Venus flytraps if you get too close to them. So what you want to do, I'm just going to get up here so they don't bother me. There are actually positions where you can stand and not get sucked up by them. So you can either do that, or you can wait for a robot and do a spin boost up to this platform. The spin boost is slower. I'll show you how to do it. Some might find this easier because you really want to. It's a lot of height you need to hit though. Yeah, it's really tricky, but you might have better results if you use this platform over here. I haven't done it in forever, and honestly, flowers is probably easier. It's gonna look really scary, but follow where I go. I'm gonna go to this spot right here underneath the bridge, and then that next clearing over there, double jump and spin to it, okay? Then double jump over the top here, and then from here, you can pretty much just double jump spin right underneath this platform and you're good to go, okay? Now right here, this spin boost is optional. It only saves about 15 to 20 seconds, so you don't have to learn this right away. I am going to show it to you because it's pretty straightforward, and I know a lot of people are going to be tempted to try it. The casual route that you do is you go up this platform, and there is a hidden button over on one of these platforms. I think it's over there. I think? Let me double check. Yeah, it's right over there. Okay. But you can do a spin boost instead to skip hitting that button. So what you want to do is get the 2 hammer robots out of the way. Regardless, don't go for the spin boost until you can confirm that they're dead, okay? And then start to lure the robot over here. And just keep farming the hammer robots until he's over here, okay? Take it slow when you're first doing this, alright? Eventually they'll stop spawning, and you can go for a spin boost off of him. And then you get up to here. Now, if you got to this point with your buff power-up intact, this will be a 2-cycle fight, okay? The manipulation on the 3rd phase, if you don't have the buff power-up, is the same as the 2 I'm about to show you, okay? It's very straightforward of a mini-boss fight here. What you're going to be doing is go to this wall and just wait for him to attack you and jump over him, okay? You want to lure him into the wall in order to end his attack early. And just go from end of the arena to opposite end of the arena. If you kept your buff power up, you do 2 damage bars instead of 1, and you get to skip a phase. If you don't, you just have to do an extra attack phase. So if you lose your buff power up, don't reset. Finish the run. It really does not lose as much time as you think it does, okay? Then once you're done with that, just wait until the boss is dead and collect the happiness object. And you're pretty much good to go. Alright. Good job. So the big takeaway from this level is just make sure that you practice spin boosting. And when you practice it, it can be good to practice it in isolation, but it can also be really important to like practice with a target platform in mind, so that you get used to the concept of getting the spin boost and then slamming the stick in the direction you want to go. Especially with certain camera angles, but it's one of those things you just gotta practice it, and that's with anything in speedrunning. I make it look and sound scary because I'm trying to be thorough in a tutorial, but it's very, very consistent, okay? Especially with practice. Alright, now the Robo-Pat fight is really, really easy. My sort of explaining is going to be very minimal. Again, this is another level where you want to make sure that you keep the buff power up the entire time because it'll let you deal extra damage to the boss. It's a very, very easy fight, though. All of the enemies that spawn in between spawn in the same places, and I'll show you where to stand. So at the very start, just move forward, and then the boss will spawn in. Take your time. Honestly, you're just waiting for him. Lure him from left to right. So that way, you just have a lot more arena to be able to hit him, and then just spin into him. Your spin is your biggest asset here, okay? Now, where I'm standing, I'm trying to pause buffer so you can kind of see. So facing the ice truck, you want to be in the bottom left side of the arena, okay? Right over here. And this first enemy will spawn over here. And you can just spin hop your way through them all in that order. This is kind of one of those levels where it's just like, follow after me. There's not any crazy glitches here. You don't even really have to spin hop here if you don't want to. Just try to avoid getting hit. And again, every time Robo-Patrick attacks, just go left to right. Now, once you do that phase, how do I explain this? So if the ice is behind Spongebob, go to the left. If it's not, go to the right. You want to stand here. So you're standing to like the left of the jelly truck. And a big friend will spawn right here. Just mash spin through there. Kill this guy. And then make your way to these last two over here. And then the last fight is pretty much the same. So just kind of copy my movement and you should be good to go. This fight's really easy. Also, try to keep them off the jelly. You won't be able to attack them there. Should keep that in mind. If you haven't played this game before. And there you go. That's the boss fight. Like I said, really simple, really straightforward stuff. And just go ahead and... Where you see the bubbles is where the happiness auto spawns. So just walk over there. You don't have to like jump into it or anything. Just walk over there and the level ends. Something that I don't remember if I mentioned for Xbox 360 players, I'll mention it now just in case if I didn't, because I've been recording this for almost 40 minutes now, is that make sure that you press A to reveal the trivia answer if you're on Xbox 360, because you'll otherwise stall the loading screen out for 5 seconds. So make sure that you're paying attention. It's a really easy way to just save free time. So don't ignore the opportunity, So go ahead and talk to Mr. Krabs. He'll take you to what we call Frycooking. I think it's learning to be a fry cook. We just call it Frycooking. And from here, the first half of the level is really straightforward. I'm going to give you a couple of things to keep in mind as we go through, just things to be aware of that can happen. This is mostly kind of auto-scroller bits at the start here. So you get the cannon shot. Cannon shot is bound to Y on 360. Don't remember what it is on Wii. But just go ahead and hit this cannonball shot here. You get ammo as soon as you land on it. Just get ready to hold Y. And then hit the button on the bus. Now don't try to jump over the steam geysers here. Just avoid them with your movement. The steam geyser hitboxes are taller than you think they are. And they will hit you, and you don't want to fall off the bus, because that loses time. Now, once you break that tiki, go ahead and jump off to the platform, and hit that. Oh, I missed. Cool. Now, there's a couple of things that can happen there. If you're too slow, you might just have to wait for that spiky, rotating robot that is invulnerable to move before it can fire. Additionally, this guy right here, this big boy, if he's in the wrong spot, he can reflect or cannonball shot, and you'll have to kill him before you can do that. So that might happen to you. Just go ahead and kill him if he's in your way, okay? Then jump over the fence towards this one right here. And just hit the cannonball. Now, if you're fast, you'll probably be able to reach the bus and get on top of it before it stops. Wait until the bus stops before you hit the button. For whatever reason, you will lose 3 seconds of time if you hit the button on the bus before it's ready to go. And again, we're going to avoid the steam geysers here using our movement. So, just wait for the steam geysers and just put myself in the right spot and then kind of walk away from it. You really want to avoid dying on the bus here. So if you're feeling brave, you can jump early to get to the pier. And then once you're here, you want to jump kind of around the right side of the pier like this. You can spin if you need to. It's very lenient, but it lets you skip a small cutscene. And then you go up to here and to this blue rock up here. Now this blue rock is pretty big, and you can stand on top of this pink coral. Normally what you're supposed to do here is hit a bunch of cannon shots in places in order to make that bus with Mr. Krabs on it move. But you can actually skip that. And it's a little bit tricky, but it's a really fun skip. The way it works is like this. This coral is actually shaped like a big rectangular prism. So you can actually walk pretty far, and it looks like I'm standing on nothing. Okay? But as long as it looks like you're standing over at least a part of the pink coral, you're good. Okay? So once you get to roughly this position, what we're going to be doing is hopping between the propellers on this sort of bumper, and then the propeller on that bumper, and then jumping over an invisible wall to get over to the bus. Okay? Now, the hitbox on this propeller is deceptive. The fan blades will not allow you to stand on it. So if I jump like here, I just get flung off. I won't even get my jump back, okay? Those don't count as solid geometry for SpongeBob to stand on. What you want to land on is there's kind of a circular knob that connects all 3 fan blades together. That's what you want to land on. So what I'm doing is I'm lining myself up so I'm like right on the edge. And then I'm jumping up to that knob. So I'm pointing SpongeBob and the camera towards that way. And then I double jump and then jump as soon as I'm about to touch it. Now when you're on here, you'll start rotating. And the further you are out from like the edge of it, the faster you'll rotate. So you really want to aim for the middle of that dot, okay? Then once you get on that dot, you double jump and you can double jump and spin to that dot. And then from there, double jump over to the bus. I'll show you what that looks like in full speed right now. So line myself up. Just like that. And you double jump and spin, and you land on top of the bus. So again, there's an invisible wall here that normally prevents you from going forward. I'm going to take an intentional death here so that I can show you this trick one more time. Just so I can show you it at full speed. So again, you jump around. You don't even have to use a spin if you don't want to. I would recommend it because you might not be familiar with the size of the cutscene boundary. So again, you jump up the rock onto the pink coral and tap so you land on top of it. Okay? Then you inch yourself until you're above like this far part of the coral. I fell off, that's okay. Just reset it if you miss it. Double jump to the dot. Double jump spin to this dot, double jump spin to the bus, okay? It's a little bit tricky. But again, just keep practicing it and it'll be it really becomes muscle memory after a while. Now once you're here, just continue along this hallway. Now one thing I will mention, we're going to be making use of a tub in just a moment. It is possible to skip it. However, it only saves 7 seconds. And it's really not worth learning unless you're like at my level. So I'm going to avoid showing it. But if you want to learn a swag strat where you skip talking to Mr. Krabs here, let me know and I'd be happy to make a video on it separately. Okay? So from here, just go talk to Mr. Krabs. Skip the cutscene. And then we're going to go fill up at the tub. Stand here. It's the Y button on 360. And then once you got the platform up, just double jump over the top of it. And now she should be up in sort of this plaza area. Now there's a couple of ways to do this next part. we're trying to get on top of that ledge up there. So you can either jump on top of this barrel and double jump and spin. Let me try that one more time. The ledge is a little bit narrow, but you can jump and get up here. Or you can jump on top of this fence, and again, what you're doing is double jumping next to it and just kind of tapping it a couple of times to get on top of it. Again, if you tap, you'll just barely move forward in that direction. And you can use that to align yourself on very small bits of geometry. And then jump up top here. Either way you choose to get up here, go ahead and hit this with your cannon shot. We're doing this intentionally to keep these platforms down for us. Now what you can do at the very start is you can double jump up to this and use that to get up across to the next platform. But if something goes wrong, you can either jump off the shower head or use this brown or this gray rock and then jump up here. That's probably the easiest way. Alright, now to skip the rest of this puzzle over here, what we're going to do is jump from that propeller and get on top of that lamppost, okay? So what I do is I line up with the pink target on the bumper, and I double jump towards it, again, holding the jump on both jumps to make sure that I get the maximum amount of height. And then as soon as I make contact, I go for my next double jump and immediately hold to the right. Should look something like this. Hold to the right. And then you can angle yourself up to land on the lamppost, okay? If you hold to the right, you can sort of protect yourself against the rotation of the propellers, and that helps you get up there easier. Now, once you're up here, you can kind of inch yourself forward on this lamppost and get right about to here. You want to stay on the left side of the lamppost because this will actually get you a little bit more height to get over the invisible wall. All you do is sort of aim towards, sort of face Spongebob so he's facing towards that next lamppost in the distance. Get a little running start if you want. I fell off. But you can give yourself a running start and double jump and spin to get over it. Double jump and spin, and you'll clear right over it. Okay, I can only show you that once because it will give me the checkpoint trigger here. But once you're done with that, you're good to go. Okay? Now, if you're having trouble with that, just go ahead and like pause the video and like check when I'm timing my jumps and where I'm positioned on the lamppost in order to get a better idea. That one's kind of hard to show multiple times just due to the checkpoint structure. But hopefully that was helpful. Okay? Those are the two really hard tricks. From here, well, they're not even really that bad. I'm a little biased because I've been doing this for like 5 years. But once you get those down, this level is pretty straightforward from here on out. Go ahead and spin into this robot, and then spin it into this next guy, and grab Squidward's power up here. Just go ahead and sort of follow the movement that I do here. There's not really too much to explain what I'm doing. Just go ahead and beat up all these robots as fast as you can. And then during this cutscene, hold down and to the left, but not quite like diagonal down left. Like left down left, or like west southwest, and you'll start moving in the correct direction during the cutscene. Spin the thing, wait for the camera to come back. You can then double jump and spin over to here, and then make your way to those platforms you created for yourself. And then once you get here, go ahead and spin this. Alright, really easy skip right here. Just double jump on top of the steam vent. It's a very big hitbox, and it lets you skip a lot of the runaround. And then you just finish up this puzzle here, and you're pretty much good to go. So there's one cannon shot. You do this one first just because it's closer. You get a refill even if you're running low. If you want to be swaggy, you can try to bank them off the wrong side, but it only saves like a second. So don't worry too much about that if you've seen me do it in like a PB or something. Now, one quick thing before we finish the level, wait for the bus to stop and for the chest to drop down before you get the happiness object. If you're standing where the chest is, it can push you into the bus and soft lock you and you have to reload the whole level. That's really bad, so I would avoid doing that. So next we're going into Santa. Now Santa operates the same sort of way that we did in Kelp Forest or KF, Jellyfishing or JF. Wrong F. Where we're going to be doing a similar skip where we go out of bounds and grab a happiness object, which is going to trick the game into beating the level for us. Excuse me. Now, follow my movement at the start. We're going to be holding up and to the right out of this cutscene here. There's going to be a boom bot you're going to see. You can either use the cannon shot or spin into him. Either way, just make sure that you get rid of him before we start the sequence. So he takes a long time for you to deal damage. I'm gonna go ahead and destroy him. Oh, that's bad. No, we're fine. Don't worry about that. Pretend like those ice blocks were still up. But you can go ahead and destroy him if you want to. Just make sure you don't move these ice blocks all that much. I kind of beefed it a little bit, but all you need to make sure is that these two columns on the right side are still standing. Alright, so here's how this trick is going to work. We're going to get out of bounds again. We're going to use these ice cubes as a platform to get on top of these two steam vents, and then get on top of the door frame over there. So what I like to do is distance myself a bit away from the ice cubes. Because SpongeBob's hitbox is actually bigger than it lets on. So as a result, if you're too close when you start jumping, you'll actually push the ice cubes because they have physics. So you need to be really careful that you jump from further away. So I line up like somewhere like, just out here. It's pretty general. And then double jump and then start moving once I get close enough. So that I land on top of them without pushing them, okay? Just like that. You can tilt your camera to the side to make it easier for you to do whatever you need to do. Now what I like to do is put myself on this rightmost set of cubes to get myself closer to the steam vent, and then you can double jump and spin to get on top of them. You don't need to spin, but the spin makes it easier. Okay? Once you're on this vent, just jump to this vent, and then you can double jump and spin to the door frame. And you'll see that you start to sort of phase through it. Now, if I go all the way through, what will happen is there will be this invisible wall right here in the door frame. So you want to stand on top of the door frame, and then jump through like this ice wall and this metal wall and all this geometry, and then hold to the right towards the steam vents. It should look like this. Yeah, there we go. Ideally, you'll land on a bit of ice platform through the wall. So from here, you want to like jump out and around, but then jump back towards the invisible wall. So you get to about here. You can start to see SpongeBob if you double jump. There will be a wall to your left. Go ahead and jump out and around, and you can land sort of inside this door frame, and continue on forward. Continue through these ice cubes. And big thing, keep rotating your camera to the right, so that way you can see where you're going. It's really easy to get stuck on geometry or get lost. So keep rotating your camera and moving towards the left, okay?
I'm slipwalking.
Alright, and if it helps, look for the floor to know where you're going, okay? You can point your camera in different directions in order to get a better angle, but once you see these crates, keep going past them on the left side, and then keep going through that ice wall until you get to this sort of metal blockade. We're basically taking a big loop shape around to the starting platform. Eventually, you won't be able to progress any further, and you'll get to this right here. So now, if I position my camera just right, you'll be able to see all three of them. Hold on a second. Where are they?
Good thing I'm not wearing my slippers.
I don't know why I can't get the camera to point towards them. Game's being a little mean. Let me just... Why can't I see them? Huh. Oh, you can barely see... Yeah, there they are. So you can see that the happiness objects are right there. They're just barely right there. Okay? So what you want to do is once you get to the metal wall, you'll be sort of in this sort of ice column. You just jump underneath the floor, double jump and spin to the happiness objects. It's not a precise jump by any stretch of the imagination. It's really, really free, okay? Mash A, so that you skip the cutscene. And you're good to go. Alright, now Mermelair. Really, really easy, okay? And this is getting towards the big game-breaking trick that lets us skip a boatload of time. So go ahead and talk to Patrick. He'll be up and to your right. And I'm going to be showing you a couple of different methods of doing this. All of them are pretty straightforward. Some are slightly easier, others are slightly faster. As long as you get something that works for you, just do that, honestly. It's not really something you should stress about, like, oh, I'm not doing this trick super fast. It's really, really easy. At the start, turn around and go towards the door over here. You'll see these kind of two, like, weird bioluminescent things, this sort of sloping hill, and this rock, okay? Next to this big, tall iron girder. Alright, what you want to do is jump in this corner between the rock and the wall, and you'll land on this ledge. Then, doing that tapping technique that I was talking about, you want to do a single jump and then sort of tap, and then you'll land on top of this, and then you can push yourself a little bit more to get a little bit higher on top of it. Now there's a couple of ways you can do what I'm about to do here. Our goal is to get on top of the door frame for that metal door. The faster way, once you're up here, is you can, if you have a good position on the rock, jump directly with a spin and maximum height jumps on top, okay? That's a slightly trickier way, but it saves about a second. The much easier way, and the one I would recommend, is you can double jump into this wall next to the big iron pillar and get stuck here. There's this nice little floor space all along the surface and kind of like in here, and then you can double jump onto there. Either way, do whichever one you find easier or more convenient for you. Then from here, what you do is you double jump through the wall and spin. And then mash A. That's it. Instantly beats the level. There is a trigger through that wall that tricks the game into thinking you've beaten the level. We don't really know why it's there. We think it might be some sort of debug trigger. But that's all you need to do to beat the level, okay? You just hop through that wall, double jump, and then you'll eventually want to fall. You don't want to jump too far through the wall. And I'll be doing this a couple more times, and I'll explain why. But, okay, I'll point that up, bring that up when we get there. But head to the left to the storybook, and go back to Mermelair. Okay? We're going to be doing that same Mermelair glitch over and over and over again. And so, this is going to produce an interesting effect that I'll explain how it works once we've done it again. But I'm going to use this as an opportunity to show you more examples of both setups. Okay?
What? Where?
So again, immediately turn around, get the camera behind Spongebob, jump into the corner, land on the rock. Get on top of the rock, and then from here you either double jump and spin to the railing just like that, or you double jump up to here, double jump to this railing. Then just double jump once you face through the wall. Just let go of the stick and spin. You don't have to go that far through the wall in order to get it to work, because the trigger is basically right behind the door. That's the best way to describe it. It's basically right outside the door. So you just leave through the back exit. And so what we're doing is a really interesting glitch. Now, you won't be able to see the effects of it until we go back to the storybook. So if I go to the storybook, you'll notice that the game thinks that we've cleared the Robo-Squidward boss fight, even though we didn't. And that's because we're doing this out-of-bounds glitch. So I'm just going to be repeating through these, and I'll let you know when to stop doing this glitch. There's a visual cue. But essentially, the way that this game tracks level progression is through just a standard number. So basically, whenever you beat a level, regardless of the order, it increases the level counter in the game's memory by 1.
It might not be them. But what if it is them?
And every time it does that, based on the level counter, it'll tell the game what levels you should be allowed to go to, right? The big thing is it doesn't discriminate between beating Mermelair or beating Santa or any other level. Beating any level means the same to the game's code. And so as a result, we can, instead of doing all the other levels in the game, we can substitute them for doing this out of bounds glitch over and over and beat a lot of these levels faster than we should normally be able to. So now you'll see that Sandy is over in there in the corner wanting to take us to Karate Island, which is the final level before the final boss.
Do you ever feel like
Well, not quite. We have to do this a couple more times anyway, because of weird code reasons that are a bit difficult to explain. But basically, we're going to keep looping through, warping back to Mermelair, and doing this glitch until we have a cue to talk to Patrick. And Patrick will allow us to go straight to the final boss. So instead of doing Robo-Squidward, 24 Hours at the Krusty Krab, and Karate Island, we can just do Mermelair a bunch of times and skip the back half of the game that way. And this is not only like way faster, but way easier as well. It's a really cool skip. So again, just smash through the cutscene there every time. The cutscene will break every time that you do this glitch, so just don't forget to do that. And again, if you're on 360, make sure that you're pressing A on all of these, what are they called? Trivia prompts to reveal the answer. So show answer, always press A as soon as you can. Alright, so you'll notice that I'm in the back left corner of the room. When Spongebob is placed into this position in the hub, that means you need to do the Mermelair glitch one more time before you can talk to Patrick. So when you see this visual cue, go ahead and go to the storybook. You should see Karate Island is filled out here, but you can't talk to Patrick yet. Okay, you gotta do it one more time, and then you can go do the final boss. So you're almost there, just do it one more time, and then you're good to go. I should also mention that I'll have timestamps to each individual level in this tutorial in the video description. So if you want to skip to the end of this bit a little bit early, or you want to go back and look at another segment, all of those will be listed in the description or in a YouTube comment for your convenience. So just go ahead and do this one more time. Actually, for fun, I'll show you the way that the top level speedrunners do it. Just for fun. You don't have to worry about this. I'm just showing this off to kind of get you excited about the game. Because this game has so much cool little things like this. The way that you'll see me or Bubble Bass or Jack do it is we actually ramp ourselves up this slope to get extra height so we don't have to do that jump in the middle. You can try it if you want, but it's really dang hard. And I've spent a lot of time practicing just that small little movement. So even though like these glitches are like really game breaking, there's a lot of meat on the bone for self-improvement and a lot of cool stuff you can learn how to do if you want to put the time into it. Again, this video is less so trying to get you to be the best speedrunner possible. This is supposed to be an introduction to the game and to get you interested and excited in trying the basics, you know? So I just thought I would show you that just to kind of give you an idea of how deep the rabbit hole can go on this game if that's something you want to pursue. And, you know, you might do a couple runs in this game and decide, hey, maybe that's not for me. Or you may not want to go that deep, and that's totally fine. But just because this run is easy doesn't mean there's a ton more cool stuff that you can't get out of this at the same time. So just keep in mind that I'm not showing you like the full extent of what like an any percent run could be. I'm just giving you all the basics that you need in order to get your first run done and be able to, you know, feel good about yourself and still do some really cool stuff. So now that we saw the exclamation point over Patrick, we can go talk to him and get access to the final level. Exclamation points don't spawn on the Wii version, so use that visual cue that I mentioned in the previous bit. Now in Robo-Plankton, this fight is broken up into two phases. You've got these rooftop segments and then these core phases. Don't worry too much about the rooftop segments and trying to do the platforming. Take it as slow as you need to, because we still have to wait for Robo-Plankton to make his way over here. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stand right over here, because the robots will start spawning on the left. kill them as fast as you can. Again, don't sweat too much about the combat. It's not a really huge deal. Just do the best that you can, you know? And then, if you want to learn, like, improved combat strats, feel free to ask us, and we'll make some really awful MS Paint image. Or something like that. I don't know. But the rooftop segments are really straightforward. And then the inside the core phases are just a matter of knowing where to go. Okay? So, I like, for all of these fist slams, I wait on the left side of the gumball. And then attack them. Now, for each one of these gumball target hits, wait until you see the visual for the gumball before you hit Y. Otherwise, it just won't register. Now what you'll do is go up and to the right and destroy this crate. That'll give you a buff power-up. And then you can use that to help destroy the generators. As you're doing this, I highly recommend killing the hammer robots so that they don't annoy you and lose your buff power-up. There is a backup buff power-up in every core phase and the last rooftop phase. So I'll show you where to get backup power-ups if you need to get them. But for right now, just focus on the platforming. And then when you get to the steam vent, wait for the steam to go, and then disappear again, and then move, okay? Don't be a hero, you know? And then the enemies will spawn in the front side of this roof, so just get ready to mash spin as soon as they touch ground. Just like that. Now go ahead and wait until you see the signboard destroyed. Count 1,000 and then jump. Okay? That steam geyser will be active if you move too fast. So I count to 1,000 before I move past the steam vent to make sure that I don't take damage. Again, if you lose the buff power up there, that's okay. There is a backup power up and I'll show you where to grab it. So again, stand to the left of the gumball, wait, and then move once he's lured. Wait for the target, go. Alright, so if you have the buff power-up, you can immediately go behind you and hit this. And there is a extra buff power-up in that crate right there. So I go behind, left, and then across to the right side of the room. And then just use the spin to break the barriers, or the generators. Okay? So that's phase 2. If you lose your buff power-up in that core phase, do not fret, you will get a free backup in this phase. I'll show you where to look for it. So in this box right here is a free extra backup. So just go ahead, kill the enemies as quickly as possible. They'll pretty much spawn in the same place every time. So once you've done the run enough, you'll just remember where they all spawn in. It'll become muscle memory. Alright, now hold on and wait on this trampoline here. Wait for the building to start crashing, and then go across. Okay, once you see the building start to fall, go. Reason why? There's a water geyser over there that will steal your buff power up and potentially kill you if you're not careful. So make sure that you wait until the building starts to fall. Alright, we're coming up on the last bit of the run. You're almost done. Thank you so much if you've tuned in until this point. I'll show you where to move for this last phase, and I'll let you know when we call time for speedrunners and to stop your timer for your first run. Again, go to the left of the gumball, wait a little, and then move. And then go ahead and get stuck in the gumball. Now, if you're on Xbox 360, you will lose your buff power up here regardless of your actions. So go up and to the right and break this crate. And you can also grab it and attack the generator at the same time if you want to be cheeky. Then turn around, go to the right, and go to this back generator. 1, 2, 3. Takes 3 spins per generator. 1, 2, 3. Good. And now, the last hit that you deal to the heart is when we end the speedrun timing. So the way that you know when to call time is you'll see a big puff of smoke come out of the robotic heart. And I'll explain, for lack of a better term, when to look. Alright, so And now, so when you see that big blue blast of electricity, that's when the end of the speedrun is and when you can stop your timer. And from there, you're done with the speedrun. You have successfully learned the any percent speedrun for SpongeBob's Truth or Square. I hope this was informative. If you have any feedback for me, that would be super appreciated. Thank you so much for your time, for checking this out. And again, if you have any questions at all, please, please, please join our Discord group. That is the easiest way to get help. I'll obviously be reading the YouTube comments, but the Discord is the best place to reach me and other runners depending on like your time zone and who might be awake at any given hour. Thank you so much for checking this out, and I hope this gets you interested and excited in trying out the speed game. Again, I might have made things sound a little scary or intimidating, but this game is really easy to get into, and everyone in our community is rooting for you to give this a try and to get into speedrunning itself. It's a lot of fun, it's a short run, and we really hope you give it a try. Thank you again for checking this out, and take it easy.